All right, we're back, and our guest tonight from somewhere in Ontario, Canada, is Alan Watt. Alan, you still there?
Yes, I am.
And by the way, the website is cuttingthroughthematrix.com. Alan, one of Hitler's men, Goring, had an incredible statement. I want to read it and ask you about it. He says, "Voice or no voice, the people can always be brought to the bidding of their leaders. It's easy," he says. "All you have to do is tell them that they're being attacked by terrorists and denounce the pacifists for lack of patriotism." And Goring says it works the same in every country. Alan, things just don't change, do they?
No, they don't change. And the same techniques were used by Nero and others in ancient Rome. They always take away the public's freedoms and rights under the guise of the same thing, which is terrorism. And it's rather odd if people only think about it that not so long ago they had the red under the bed scare during the communist era, and the media poo-pooed that. However, the same media that works again for the CFR is promulgating this hype of terror everywhere. It could be you, it could be your neighbor, it could be your own family, your offspring, and we're creating up a tremendous paranoia. But it's nothing to do with terror. The true stampeding effort, and that's all it is to stampede the public through a massive change in their way of living to a totally ordered, controlled society where everyone's ID'd and cannot travel anywhere or do anything without the consent, they approve, and being monitored by the government.
You know, that's why I wanted to talk about the Chinese. We've done all this trade with them. We are so beholden to them. We owe them probably our firstborn male children, all of us, and yet they have terrible human rights abuses. They are attacking the Tibetans right now, and they have the same thing. Everything is ordered, controlled. Are we just, is this a demonstration to show us what we're going to be having here?
You're right, because the United Nations has stated on more than one occasion, it was also reiterated by Charles Galton Darwin, the grandson of Charles Darwin. He said the United Nations, this was in the 1950s, he said this, China will be set up as the model state for the world to follow. And the United States, the United Nations also has that published as well. China is the model state that we've all to follow, including with their birth control policy that's mandatory.
And also, now we have this whole thing about them having the Olympics coming up very shortly. With all of that's going on, and the media seems to be turning a blind eye to it, is it just another way to convince all of us that it's okay to deal with this way?
Oh, absolutely. You've got to understand, too, China, we know now that communism was set up by the big boys in the West. We funded the Soviet system through its entire existence. We fed them from Canada and the States. And so was China. Same thing again. It was set up to be a leader. And also China will be the main leader for all the Pacific Rim regions, something that Karl Marx talked about in the 1800s, that a united Americas, a united Europe, and a far eastern Pacific region. Right. And China will be the dominant one, given authority over Australia and New Zealand eventually.
You know, Alan, it kind of makes me laugh because the U.S. goes and invades any country it sees fit for whatever stupid reason. And I've always thought, you know, if China ever wanted to turn the tables and invade the U.S., I mean, we have 250,000 military people. They have over 1 million. And they have nuclear weapons. They could just run across the country, taking control of it anytime they wanted. Could they not?
Yeah. And not only that, China was set up by the West. The boys at the head of China are all working for the same people who own the Americas, who own Europe. The big bankers set them up. China, believe it or not, is just part of the same interlocking world system.
Right.
And their leaders will do as they're told by their masters, just like the ones in the U.S. and Britain do.
It's amazing to me.
Now, I want to get into some of these other secret ways of getting information, because it seems that these elite families, they have made darn sure that they have access to all of these secret modes of knowledge. But lately the Kabbalah has become very popular. Madonna's even getting into it.
Yeah.
Is that one of the true secret ways of knowledge?
The stuff that's taught to the public is not, including what Madonna is getting taught. The Kabbalah has coding within coding, and yet if you understand the codings, it only makes sense then. It's part of the agenda as well. So is the whole New Age movement phenomena, in fact, was created by MI5 and MI6, and the CIA in the United States ran the whole New Age movement that brings in Kabbalah, astrology, and this whole movement to past life experiences and so on, because they wanted a society that would float through these changes and not look at the negative. They're all trained, doesn't matter what school it is, you're taught that everything is fine, don't look at the negative. And meanwhile, you've got this big train coming up behind you as
Sure.
you mentally masturbate yourself and
Yes.
rattle chakras. So that was an intended way of mind control. It works very well.
Yeah.
Millions of people have succumbed to it. They're oblivious to what's happening in the world. They don't care what's happening in the world.
Everything is in divine and perfect
Boy,
order.
you know, and we know a lot of people who follow that train of thought.
Yeah,
Sure.
but that's true of all religions, whether it's the New Age movement or another one. If you, in even the Buddhists, you know, okay, you're going to have to keep coming back again and again, you know, to get it right. And of course, with the Christian, you've got the whole idea of heaven, and you're going to do very well that way. That was all planned too, a long time
It
ago.
was all
That
planned
blows
as
my
well, and but the mandates of all high masonry, they have it written down there that they must destroy private property. It's the same as the Communist Manifesto, by the way. Private property, the end of all national religions, and the bringing forth of a new age religion. The main magazine of the Freemason Journal, the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, in the 1950s published their magazine, and it was called The New Age. And they said that they would be responsible for bringing in the New Age and the New Age religion as we came through this big transition that they knew was coming all that time ago.
Now, what is Rosicrucianism, or what is that about? Because that seems to be tied
were
into.
the first main branch to pop their heads up publicly in Europe, mainly at the court of the Queen Elizabeth I of England. Her court, John Dee, Francis Bacon, Francis Drake, and others, Walter Raleigh, were members of the Rosicrucian Society. Again, elitist-based. They brought in, they mixed in with Christianity at that time, a little bit of Hinduism and a little bit of Kabbalah, and put this all together. That became the foundation for what we now call the New Age today.
Ah,
So they
that's
brought
the
it
roots
forth.
of it.
But it was also behind it an elitist agenda. They believed they were the hidden masters, as they called themselves.
Right.
They believed that they'd only come to Earth to guide mankind that was too incapable of guiding himself, and that they would have to come here to order it, to make it perfect. They kept talking about a utopia. Utopia sounds nice, but as George Orwell says, some are more equal than others in such utopias.
Yeah.
And that's how it's going to be. Their utopia is where they can vastly reduce the population of the world. You see the standing guidestones in Georgia set up by Rosicrucians. It's chiseled in stone there that they want to reduce the world by over 3/4 of the population.
Alan, we need to get to a commercial break. What a screwed up world we live in. When we come back, I want to ask you quickly, this is our final commercial break, we only have a short amount of time, about surveillance. I know you're in Canada, and surveillance and Big Brother is really bad here, and let's find out what it's like in your country. When we return, Alan Watt comes back.